Today, let's dive in on a somewhat broad category of frames, mobility frames, a subset of support abilities. Out of 42 unique frames, 20 of them have mobility enhancing abilities, with a couple honourable mentions on top of that. I've split the mobility category into 4 subsets. That's speed, dimension, teleport, and dash. Due to the number of available abilities, I'm splitting this into 2 parts. For this first part, I'll be focusing on speed and teleport capable frames. For our speedsters, we've got Gauss, Octavia, Volt, and Wisp, with honourable mention to Chroma. Gauss is one of the latest additions to the game, and to the speed category, a title he certainly embodies. Gauss's first ability, Mach Rush, allows him to sprint at a considerable speed, though at the cost of his freedom of movement. A quick tap will just surge forwards, almost like a dash ability, while holding the ability down allows him to maintain his speed indefinitely, so long as neither obstacle nor energy drain get in the way. You cannot fire while running this way, but it does give you the freedom to run across water without issue. Octavia is a much more forgettable contributor to life in the fast lane, and for good reason. Her third ability, Metronome, has a number of features baked into it. One of those is if you jump on the beat enough times, you will gain a temporary speed buff. At base, that's 30%. Not only is this somewhat awkward to achieve, for allies and for Octavia herself, the time spent trying to get the buff is perhaps better spent on just going where you want to be. So, ultimately, not the best choice if speed is your focus, but it's something to remember if you feel like hopping awkwardly for a moment or two. Volt, a so-called starter frame that carries right into the endgame-ish content of Warframe, is crowned King of Speed. He can apply a buff to him and his allies, which, among other things, is a 50% base speed buff. It also applies a slight distortion to your view to enhance this feeling. It's not quite as camera distorting as it is with Gauss, but it's enough to feel the wind rushing past you. With no other fanciness attached than doing things like running and meleeing faster, Volt's speedy ability is simply called Speed. There's no false advertising there. Now, Chroma, for his honourable mention, does have a speed buff. When he casts Effigy and eschews his now Sentry Mode armour, he becomes lighter and therefore 20% faster. No increase to this is available. This speed increase is lower than Octavia's and is overall rather forgettable. I'm not going to apologise for my disappointment in Chroma, frankly. The Dragon Frame's only enhanced form of movement is to be faster when he leaves the dragon behind. But it's a speed buff, so you get a front note, Chroma. Now just go stand to the side and give the rest of your team the passive aura. Wisp, an impressive jack of many trades, also brings us a base 20% movement speed buff, but this buff can be enhanced with strength mods of course, and this can be applied to the whole team for a comfortably long and easily refreshed duration. If you're just focusing on the reservoirs for Wisp, you can easily buff this strength sky high and get a lot out of it. But Wisp isn't just speed, and that brings us onto the teleporters, defying physics altogether. Wisp can teleport in 2 fashions. First, using her very own reservoirs, Wisp can cast Breach Surge to teleport instantly to a reservoir location. Unlike almost any other ability in the game, this one has no maximum range, but instead a minimum range of 10 meters. Set up right, you can teleport across half the plains or valleys. Wisp also can teleport to a nearby aimed spot by sending out a spectral copy using Will-O-Wisp. A normal cast allows Wisp to teleport over on demand during the ability timer, while a held cast sends the copy out at an enhanced speed, teleporting Wisp on release during this time. All told, Wisp carries a plethora of mobility options. Ash has his own teleport ability called Teleport. Fancy, I know. Ash targets something, be it an enemy, or an ally, or an excavator for example, within his 60 meter range, and then simply teleports to it. Pure and simple really. Ash can also use this teleport to take part in his Blade Storm ability, to get a bit of a cutscene. Let's look right back to the start of Warframe in fact, with a frame there from day one. Loki is another teleport capable frame with his switch teleport. It allows him to teleport by switching places with an enemy. Honestly, some of these abilities have very basic names. Up next, the ability called Jump. On cast, you jump. Anyway, I digress. Switch teleport has up to 75 meters of range, and the only real downside to deal with at that point is the somewhat disorientating animation. Nezha takes a different approach to teleportation. Casting his blazing chakram forwards, Nezha can interrupt the ability at will to instantly teleport to where the chakram is. With it being thrown, the chakram can be bounced off enemies or around corners before executing the teleport. This can be finicky, however, as the chakram moves quickly and can redirect quite suddenly. Accurate teleporting will take some time to get used to. And lastly, Nova. Nova's teleport is via use of the aptly named Wormhole ability, tearing a gateway open for her allies, and her allies' gunfire to pass through. This teleport maintains all momentum, allowing for some pretty speedy movement at considerable range. Projectile passage is perhaps not the most game-changing ability, but it's a feature unlike any other boasted in this list. As it is cast roughly a foot or two in front of Nova, I'd recommend not casting it from just a foot or two behind your friends, lest you forcibly teleport them into the distance. Never mind that I'm pointing out exactly how to use this maliciously, I'm saying don't do it. Be nice, Tenno. There we are, so that is that for part 1 of this 2-part video on mobility frames, covering all the speedy and teleport ones that we've got currently in Warframe. If you've learned a trick or two, or found this helpful overall, please do leave a like, and to get a notification as soon as I upload the next stage, make sure to subscribe. As ever, fight well and have fun.